We'll now call the Hawkins County Board of Education meeting to order, this being February 6, 2025 at approximately 6:02 p.m. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out on this beautiful, beautiful wintry spring day. I like it like this. We'll get on with the meeting, and now I'd like for everyone to stand and take a moment of silence. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce you to Sarah from Bulls Gap. She's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sarah. You may be seated.
Thank you, Mr. Christian. At this time, I would like to call up Ms. Sharon Southern from Bulls Gap to introduce the STEM team.
As most of you all know, I'm very passionate about the STEM program at Bulls Gap, and we are very fortunate to have Christy Riley in charge of that. And so I'm not really sure why all these kids are so tore up and nervous, because they talk all the time at school, but they are struggling right now. But we're very proud of them, and we appreciate all the work that Ms. Riley does. And so she has a little slideshow that will explain what they're doing, and hopefully their nerves will calm and everything will work the way we want it to.
It's all right.
Do is take a 7th grade social studies standard, build a float. They use the 3D printer to make a moving part and then the robots. And while I'm here, tomorrow marks 20 years that I've been at Bulls Gap School, And in that 20 years, I have made good and bad decisions. One of the best decisions I ever made was over the phone, and that was hiring Miss Riley. And she's from up north, and she really didn't know how to take us. And so I hired her. She still doesn't understand us sometimes. But she has been a real asset over the past years to Bulls Gap School. And unless I can use some sort of great people skills, she's going to be leaving us this year and retire. And so I thank her very much.
Thank you, Bulls Gap. Thank you, Sarah, for leading the pledge. Thank you, students, for bringing your projects and showing us your skills and for utilizing the STEM techniques that you're learning there at Bulls Gap. Next up, we have Seguinville Middle School and the performance led by teacher Josh Fritz and students at the back of the room. We're doing something a little bit different, so if you can't see them, feel free to stand up. Feel free to move around, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Fritz.
Hey everybody. Happy afternoon. We are the 7th grade singing, and we're going to sing You Really Got Me.
This one goes out to you, Mr. Hickson. Snow or the road is rough, just know we're only one call away. I'll be fine. away. I'll be there to save the day. Superman's got nothing on me. 'Cause I'm only one call away.
Alright, we got Leon B-Boy Bear on the guitar. Charlie the Cookie Lander also on the guitar. We got Palmer with the Cucumber. Nikolai and our sister the drums. Lady Earth. We got Aubrey Awesome Sauce. We got Macy meant to be at home.
We have Tristan on the drums. Jack is ready on piano. We got Addie Woods on bass. We got Mr. Fritz on the guitar. Sid Hill doing the vocals. Okay, doing the vocals. Non-vocals are here. It's the fifth grade screaming eagle. Now, let's give it up for the eighth grade screaming eagle.
How about the fifth grade screaming eagle? We are the eighth grade screaming eagles, and tonight we're going to sing I Love Rock and Roll, especially for our Hannah Meeks back there in the back. She has the coolest hair ever. Eagles. Good night.
Thank you all so much for having us out here this evening. I just want to make sure that the school board and a lot of the other guests here, they got to see some of this wonderful equipment that school money and donations and grants have been buying over the years at Rogersville Middle School. Coming up here in March, we're going to have a concert called the March Mayhem. I think it's going to be around March 11th at Rogersville Middle School, where we'll be playing a lot more of those songs like what you heard. And also in May, we got the big Beauty and the Beast Junior. Stand up for that show. Woo! So several of these people on the musical theater stage. Give it up one more time for the Screaming Eagles. And also, unlike all these Screaming Eagles, give it up for your school board members who help you all out to do stuff like this.
Thank you, Mr. Prince, and thank you to Rogersville Middle Performance Team. Really appreciate hearing some of that and seeing some of the equipment in practice and in action. And I know that you worked really hard on those numbers in order to come and perform in front of a lot of strangers this evening. And a lot of the students and the audiences that you are performing in are a lot more lively, so I apologize for the adult feel in the room this evening, but great job. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to bring up volunteer high school cross country team and coaches Lauren and Daniel Green.
Next time we come here, I'm going to ask that we not follow up the band. I think that's an unfair disadvantage. But in all seriousness, I just want to thank everyone for having us here tonight. Our team getting recognized. We've frequented this for a few years now. We've stepped through the program. Lauren and I have taken over, and we're super thankful for that. And we're thankful for all of you here to support us and everything you guys do behind the scenes as well. I guess I'll start off by introducing myself a little bit more and my wife. My name's Daniel Green. I was a graduate volunteer for 2018. I went on to run collegiately in track and field and cross country at Tennessee Wesleyan University, where I met my lovely wife, Lauren Green. She was a sprinter, I was a distance runner. My little brother, Caleb Green, he graduated from volunteer in 2022, and he is currently attending Tennessee Wesleyan running track and field and cross country as well. Lauren and I are both non-faculty staff, I guess you would say, as far as coaching goes. Neither of us are technically full-time employees of Hawkins County Board of Education. Lauren is currently completing an internship at volunteer within the guidance offices through her master's program. She's previously worked in Nice Longer Care with the education side of the Nice Longer Foundation, where she worked as a student advisor inside of volunteer charity in French last year. Basically, fast fun, all that good stuff. Before I get into more of the kids, I'll tell you guys a little bit, just a tad bit about Lauren and I. I know it's not why anybody's here, but through our collegiate track and field careers, Lauren and I accomplished quite a bit, I would say, especially for what we were given to begin with. If I can find it. I'll just go off my brain. Lauren has at least 3, if not 4, All-American or academic All-American awards to the NAIA. She competed in 2 national championships at the NAIA level. One in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and the other one in Indiana. I made this nationals one time, and that was my senior year, and so that was the year after COVID. Fortunately, the good Lord gave me a great day, a great season. I was able to go out to Portland, Oregon, and compete against 392 runners. We won't get into how I did in that field, but I had the experience, and coming out of high school, I never had the opportunity to run at state, and so for me to be able to go throughout a 5, 6, 7 year career, continually, gradually getting better, and to be able to cap off my career at a stage like that was super monumental to myself, and I think also to what everyone around here, our coaches and volunteers and stuff, poured into me and our program as a whole. I'll get into the kids, that's why we're all here. Start off with Lily, since she's the girl, ladies first. Looking at the statistics, I'm a very statistical-minded person. Lily averaged elite 27th place at any meet that we went to this year. I'm a very competitive person as well, and so looking at our schedule this year was probably quite a bit different than years previous. And in some ways it was the same, in some ways it was different. I don't necessarily just want to go to meets that we can easily win or there's no competition. I want to put our team in the best position to have the fastest times possible for intended college recruitment, basically. So Lily was facing a little bit of adversity. They all were with me coming in as a coach because they were used to someone else for 3 years. And that's not a bad thing. I think it can be a very positive thing. I stem from Coach Alshot. And so I was able to bring in some, I guess maybe some more modern stuff and this, that, and the other. So taking what he instilled in me as a high schooler and compiling that with some things I learned in college. I think we've created a great system here. But kind of get the ball rolling. Lily was a 4-year competitor at state. They actually all these kids here. So I guess the youngest one was Isaac, the tallest right there. He's a sophomore. Roman on the end, he's a senior, former state champion at 800 meters this past track season. Josh Hathaway in the middle in the white. Wait, no. He's a fan favorite, to say the very least, and so off this program. And once again, was a state competitor for 4 years. And Kevin Curry in the black jacket is a junior, and of course Lily Bullock. Lily was able to PR a lifetime career PR at the state meet. So her very last cross country meet of her high school career, and I guess career as a whole. She was able to run a 21:36 5K, which was monumental. She placed 29th at state, and that was her highest finish of her career. She started out her career at 86th place, where she got 86 twice, 2 years in a row. And she moved up to, I believe, 56th place, and then her senior year, getting 29th. So we're going to give Lily a round of applause. And the gentleman, we are missing Carter Mangus. He's a senior. He's working at Palace tonight, so we miss him, but we'll recognize him as well. Statistically and realistically, I'm the same man. This is the best men's team that Monster High School's ever had. It's the best running team that on the boys' side that Hawkins County has ever had. Statistically speaking, they beat the next best team, which would be the year 2022, my brother's senior year, by an average time of 30 seconds, which is quite monumental. This team was able to go to what's referred to a meet called Cherokee Classic. It's in Knoxville on Cherokee Boulevard. We competed against teams like Alcoa and DB and Marable and a lot of schools that are probably 3 or 4 times their size. I'm not too versed in that sort of thing, but we were actually able to win the meet. Going throughout the season, we went to a really big meet down in Murfreesboro. We traveled, had an overnight trip, and really handled things as professionals do, or lead runners, and we were able to get third at that meet. And then to cap off the year, we won our region meet for the second time in program history, the last time being in 2022. Ultimately, we were able to finish 5th at state, and so going forward, we hope to continue to build this program. We just thank you guys for all your support. So, thank you.
Gotta get your picture made. You've been here before, haven't you? Didn't you stand up there as a runner at one time? On 3, 1, 2, 3. Gotcha.
Right here. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Dixon, could you read the conflict of interest statement and cover that for the school?
Yes, Mr. Christian, those of you that have a personal conflict of interest and or an indirect conflict of interest, do you acknowledge these conflicts of interest for all purposes and actions of this meeting?
I do.
Let the record reflect that all did on both conflicts.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Any board member report? Well, I guess I'm sorry.
We have one more recognition, I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Williams. We have volunteer high school FFA team, I believe, to come up and have a moment of your time this evening, and I apologize for that overlook. That was a big deal.
Well, you're going to enjoy this better than hearing me speak.
Ladies, I'm very sorry.
All right, thank you all for being here tonight. I wanted to recognize these two ladies. This is Ava Collier and Mila Burgess. They competed in district competition at Cherokee High School. It was between Volunteer, Cherokee, Granger County, and Smeadville schools. Ava placed second place in the prepared speaking, and Mila placed first in the creed speaking. The creed is a 5-paragraph statement that she had to memorize. It's a competition for freshmen, so she did awesome, and the judges gave her some great feedback. And Ava's speech was 6 to 8 minutes long, and she did hers on women in agriculture. So we are very proud of them, and they did wonderful. We have some people competing at state convention in March, so we hope to be back here in April to recognize all of them. Thank you all.
Okay, me first. On three. 1, 2, 3. Need one more. Gotcha.
1, 2, 3.
Now I think that's it, Sarge.
I don't want to do my
Thanks, Dr. Williams.
No. I want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Hawkins County Schools and some of the things that public education is facing in the near future. Had an opportunity to visit with Rogersville Elementary School. Kathy Craig attended also. It was very enlightening for me. But public education is not something easy to understand now. It's really not, with the data that has to be collected and what our administration and our teachers, how they have to collaborate more than ever to keep the education process flowing correctly to where our students are getting the information. What impressed me the most was the enthusiasm that the teachers and the administration had for what's in place now for the betterment of our students at K through 12. This isn't just one school doing this. This is system-wide, and this is something that was initiated about 4 years ago. And Cartersville is one of our more successful elementary schools. Now, we have a lot of successful schools in this county, but we happened to visit Cartersville the other day. And it is impressive the amount of work that they put into this to make sure our students are grasping what they need to have to move on to the next grade level. There's a lot of lofty goals been set for our students, and they're attacking it to achieve it with the assistance of the teachers and the programs that's been put in place by the administration. I just wanted to say that. And when's volunteer next? And there again, I was very excited about some of the ideas that they have and what they've got going on at Volunteer High School. And to provide opportunities in CTE. So we need that. We need as many opportunities as we can possibly give the students from Hawkins County Schools. We've got to think outside the box sometimes to make those things happen. But I was very impressed with what's taking place at Volunteer. A barn, for one thing. I'm envious. I don't have enough level ground to build a barn that big. But it is nice.
We had to make that level ground.
But there's a lot of other things that's going on within our county that's going to, what I hope will become even more positive things so we can showcase what we're about and the progress that we're making. I'm going to say this, I wasn't going to bring this up, but we as a system and a community have to come together and realize that there's going to be some requests made to this board for some other projects that's going to bring attention to Hawkins County Schools. Because in the current level of the state of Tennessee at this time, we've got to circle the wagons and take care of Hawkins County. Make it better. Make it the best that we can. And if we can do that, and I think we can, it's already been put in place. There's plans being made now that I'm very, very excited about. So I just wanted you to be aware and realize that we're not sitting back. We're planning and we're moving forward. So expect a lot of good positives from Hawkins County Schools to be brought to you in the future. So thanks a lot. Any other board member reports? None. Public comments? None. Approval of the minutes from the January 2nd, 2025 board meeting and January 23, 2025 special call board meeting. Got a motion? Got a second? Any further debate? None. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Now it's time for approval of the outline and format of the agenda. Is there any issue, anything on our agenda a board member would like to pull for discussion? If no one wants to pull anything, I would ask the board to allow me to combine A1 through 4 and B1. We have a motion, we have a second. Any debate on that? If none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? None opposed, so we will condense that into one vote. And do we have any delegations from ACEA? None. Do we have anyone representing the Education Committee of the Hawkins County Board of Education Commission? Excuse me. Don't have anybody. And now it's reports. That's Mr. Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Christian and Board. I do have four pretty quick items to bring to your attention. Number one, please notice the executive committee approvals. We only had one, and that was for a non-faculty coach at Volunteer, and that was approved on the 29th so that individual could get started with some plans there, work with the team. Second thing, we had a calendar committee meeting this evening at which we talked about the draft approved 25-26 calendar and 26-27 further draft. In that discussion, we rolled out plans to Mr. Christian's point this evening regarding the need for increasing collaboration time for our teachers and professionals at our school sites. One of the ideas we're looking at is building in an hour midweek next week in the schedule that teachers can plan and that we can utilize for tutoring support at all of our schools, kindergarten through 12th grade. We're looking at using Wednesday afternoon for an hour to do that. Buses would run at the same time Monday through Friday, but we would have a built-in time that we could free up teachers to collaborate on the data, devise, and plan together in their departments and grade level teams regarding instructional shifts that they need to make based on that data, and utilize that time with professionals we're already paying during that hour to catch students up that are still on campus utilizing that tutoring block. That is something that we're discussing now. There's nothing been finalized, but it is to further that point that Mr. Christian made, and that is when we're looking at supporting our teaching staff and our professionals at our school sites now, we have to realize that when I got into teaching, a majority of the time that we were in front of students was spent teaching. The second portion of a teacher's duty is planning and preparation. With education the way it is now, with the mandates we have, with the attention to data that we need to place, we have to adjust and allow for that planning time to take place. Preparation and planning is equal to or greater than the amount of effort that a teacher spends in front of his or her students today. And I don't know if everybody's realized that, but that's the shift in teaching that's taken place over the last decade or plus. So in order to get to that end and to meet those demands, we are suggesting an early release of students an hour in advance on a Wednesday, midday, that would be set aside for teacher planning and preparation, specifically aimed at data analysis and instructional shifts, again, as I stated earlier, with a separate and apart structured time for tutoring support for students that need it during that time. This would not interfere with parents' expected drop-off times because the buses will run at the same time every single day. So those that are bus riders would be on campus for an hour on Wednesdays, but we would plug them in, like I said earlier. Again, we're looking at that model. That would result, in order to do that, we would need to extend the instructional day by 13 minutes, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, to account for the additional time on Wednesday. And in order to pull that off, we are not affecting teacher contract time or instructional aid contract time, but the instructional minutes during those days, those other 4 days would increase by that 13 minutes a day. So again, just a preview of what we're discussing. I wanted to roll that out in public and to the board so that you knew what we were discussing. We tried to get the calendar committee after we had a chance to roll this out to you all to consider, but it is important for us to keep that momentum moving and have time to communicate that out if we do make such a change prior to next year and include it on the calendar that you will be seeing here in the next month. Second thing I would like to talk about is an awesome opportunity from Mike Manning from VFW Post 9543 here locally. And he is suggesting a $1,000 scholarship for CTE students, and we're excited about this. This is the second one the second individual that's come forward to recognize CTE students, graduates. He is stipulating a minimum GPA of 2.5, no major discipline records along with that, recommendation from a CTE instructor and/or administrator. It would include a one-page essay to explain how the funds would benefit that individual student, and they would participate in an interview process at the VFW House Committee. So there's public speaking opportunities, showcasing of the academic and professional skills they're learning through the CTE program and at the high school, and an opportunity to showcase those things in order to obtain that scholarship. So I'm really excited to offer that out, and I want to thank Mr. Manning and our CTE staff for working collaboratively to make that an offering for us to consider. Fourth item, I guess, is the director evaluation tool. I did meet with Mr. Christian pertinent to our workshop to discuss the evaluation tool that I will be subject to this year. Mr. Christian did take board input on questions from those that had an opportunity to provide input on those. Those questions were narrowed down from the big bank of questions provided at that workshop, and they will be typed up and sent out in draft form here in the next several weeks so that everybody has a chance to look at them, and which portions of that survey will go to which portions of the staff throughout the county. I think that's all I have for my reports this evening, Mr. Christian.
Thank you.
Matt, I just want to follow up on the changing the school schedule. I have no idea that was in the works. I've already had people reach out to me against it, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, and thought they were hearing things. Now apparently they're not. So I do ask that you make sure that the principals and teachers are involved in that decision, because there seems to be a lot of
Principals were discussed with it about 5 weeks ago, just as an idea. We got input, pros and cons. We looked at both sides of that. One of the things, if you remember, well, you weren't on the board, but when I first came, HCEA met with us in collaborative conversations, and they really boiled down their request to increase planning time. If I had to summarize the first couple of years we met together, it was, can you allow us more time within the contract day to plan? And that's very, very hard to do without affecting the instructional time we're mandated to meet. We are in the process of getting that information out, and Cody is putting out a survey from the calendar committee to all the members of the calendar committee, and then they can pass it on. The calendar committee was overwhelmingly in support of it, HCA is in support of it, and our principals were largely in support of it. So anytime there's a change, there's going to be met with good support, questions about, concerns, or just not supporting in general. But we are in that process now. I just wanted to give you a heads up that we were in that process and considering that at this point.
So follow up, you said that the kids would leave at the same time? They would still stay with 3?
Bus riders will, our instructional assistants are working the same schedule, for example, so the instructional assistants would likely be supervising at the elementary level, and then we would have department teams rotate at the middle school and high school potentially. So not every Wednesday would have every teacher freed up to collaborate, because there would be a group at the secondary level, for example, that would provide that supervision throughout. And again, it's an idea, I think, and I didn't plan this with Mr. Christian, but he mentioned we need to be creative and think outside the box. This is truly one of those events, I think, that would benefit us if we consider it, if we think about the intent. And again, the intent is to provide that time within the day, within the contract time, to really look at the data, really look at what gaps are existing with the student achievement and how we need to adjust more frequently. If we did that every week, imagine what we could see. We're doing that every 2 to 3 weeks now. We're doing it 4.5 weeks formally with our benchmarks. But if we were looking at common formative assessments every week, and the data that we're seeing coming out of the classrooms, and we're able to adjust weekly and to allow those teachers time to work together on those adjustments, I really do think that it's a necessary move at this point. However, I'm not a one-man show, and that's why we're getting input from everybody at this point. So yes, ma'am, we will, and we are. The one thing I would add is when we look at those opportunities to get them together, teachers have planning and prep time built into the week. The elementary level, a lot of times it's related arts time. It's related arts block. They have a prep time, they have their lunch time, they have a block of time daily, and it differs at different levels. High school may have a period given to teachers if they're not working their prep period. But this is in addition to that. So this is set apart for the data analysis piece that we're asking them to do to fit in right now, either after school or during their prep time or during their contracted time. So this would be a separate and apart time set apart for that purpose, something they don't have now, something they're squeezing into their existing schedule at the current time. So it really is with the intention of creating a specific, meaningful and consistent time for that data analysis and resulting instructional changes. But just like we asked the staff to do this afternoon and the site administrators over the last couple of weeks, I would like you to consider it, and if you hear concerns, email me, let me know. If you hear support for it, also let me know that. Any questions, anything that comes up from the board, please let me know as well.
You good? Okay. All right, now we're on to the consent agenda. It will be A 1 through 4 and B1 is before the board for approval. One, two, 5. Oh, well, B 1 through 5. Make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. No, she has to say already. You want to say? You take the motion, you take the second. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Consent agenda is approved. And that brings us to unfinished business. Do we have any? No unfinished business, no new business.
I don't know if it's either one, but I do want to talk about something. I want to revisit the issue with busing and the one address drop-off situation with kids. And to make sure that I understand the process so it's my understanding that starting next year, the parents are being informed that they can only have one drop-off address, which is, I would assume, their primary address for a student. I'm looking back for Kevin with that, Kevin even more.
Does not have to be their primary. We are working with parents to identify an address that we can pick up and drop off.
So if that address happens to be grandparent, does then all other things associated with that student then tie into that address rather than?
No, so we have been working within the routing system and within our student information system database to identify a field that we can put as the primary address, which wouldn't change. That would be the primary home address for the student where the student resides, but also a field for transportation address. So nothing would change in communicating with the home, sending things home, that type of stuff. That'd be the primary, but we would also have a transport bus riders. We would have a transportation address if that differed from the primary home address.
So, for example, if my children catch the bus at my house in the morning, they can't be dropped off at their grandparents' afternoon.
We're not saying no. What we're saying is that we want to individualize those discussions because right now we are having several situations across the county, more than several, where we have requests that spring up to our bus drivers. Tuesday and Thursday I need them dropped off over here, and Monday and Wednesday and Monday and Friday I need them dropped off over here, and we can't accommodate that safely. We're working with those situations right now. But what we've stated is that if the primary address is not going to be used for transportation and there needs to be an alternate address for transportation, we need to work with those parents starting this spring, going into the summer, so that we can start routing that so that we don't have confusion starting out the school year. That's why we're floating that idea and communicating that early.
Okay, so because I think maybe when this was originally rolled out, there was not going to be an alternative address, correct? Is there always going to be an alternative address?
We basically were saying one address. We need parents, so let's take a common situation that we're dealing with. Unfortunately, two parents get a divorce. There's a custody an agreement. We're asking those parents to choose one address, maybe another family member that resides in the school boundary or something, an area where mom on her days can pick up the student, dad on his days can pick up the student, that the parents can agree to, because right now we are literally, like I said earlier, dropping off students 2.5 days or 2 days here, 3 days there, and it is not something that we can adequately and safely track and maintain, knowing where our students at and where they're going. We will honor notes. Now, what we have going on, like on a Friday afternoon, we have, let's say at the middle school level, we've got, let's say Cheyenne wants to go to Anna's house and the parents agree. As long as Cheyenne has a parent note that can present to the driver that day and it's signed by Cheyenne's mother, then we will go ahead and drop off at Anna's house because we've got documentation from that parent or guardian. So we're still going to work with those situations, but we're talking about day in and day out, common run of the day, one address is what we need to have in the system, and it does not have to be that home address, but it has to be an address in that school zone. Another thing that we're running up against is our zones, depending on where you live, you could have a parent live in the Rogersville boundary, but grandmother lives in Carvey Valley boundary. So if that boundary address is outside of the boundary and those routes are tied to that school, we need them to choose an address that's within that zone, because our policy states that we will provide transportation within those zones to those zone schools.
And I think most of the, I had never really thought about going to different parents' house. I think at least the 4 calls that I got is more that I need my kids to go to Mel's every day. You know,
if it's every day, that's no problem.
And it's within, the zone school.
Correct.
It's not, there's no issues.
To rest assured those individuals that can still take place. We just need to make sure that grandmother's house in that example is the transportation address.
So if a parent, if they drop their children are picked up at their house every day, but one day a week or out of a month, if they find out they're going to have to walk over, parents going to have to walk over, they can send a note and say, hey, drop my child off at my mother's or their grandmother's or whatever, as long as they have a note.
The notes are for friends' visits, an existing stop that we're already making. If it's an added stop, we can't add a stop necessarily unless it happens to be next door or extenuating circumstances. That's where I'm saying there's wiggle room with individual circumstances. We're not saying across the board, no matter what, this is what it has to be. But in that example, Kathy, if the grandmother lives next door to the address, then no problem. But if it's outside the boundary, we probably cannot accommodate that, because that then affects the other students that are on that bus that have drop-off times and locations already established. So good question.
In the event of an emergency, let's say I've got a first grader that gets dropped off at my address, but there's a medical emergency. I have a heart attack. My wife has to take me to the hospital. No one else is around. Does a parent have the ability to call and say, hey, nobody's going to be home. Can we have my child dropped off at neighbor Joe's?
We've actually had that before. Kevin, I'll let you address that.
Yes, yeah, if they have a medical emergency, they can contact the school, and that's where the note can come in. And we would call, the bus stop would call and verify with the neighbor just to make sure that the reason is legit and valid. And so yes, we have that.
The other thing I will tell you is in the event that that phone call can't be made, because there are circumstances we've dealt with before, that student stays on the bus and is brought back to the school until we can reach some sort of secondary contact or alternative.
Is at the bus stop, we always verify. So if we can't get a hold of anybody, then we do ask them to come back to the school. We've had them come back to the bus shop before and wait here with us until we can get somebody and in touch with somebody.
So there are some alternatives.
Yes, there are, and that's why there's no certain black and white issue when it comes to this. But what we're asking is that our stakeholders, our parents and guardians, work with us on identifying a transportation address within the school zone that they're zoned for. If that's different than the home address. If it's not different than the home address, then nothing changes.
Okay.
But we're asking for one transportation address so that we know where we're taking that student, barring any unforeseen or surprise circumstances, where we're taking that student, picking them up, and where we're taking them every day after school.
And is this based on our new software?
It's in conjunction with it. It really doesn't have anything to do with the software other than we want to make sure that when we're updating it year to year, that we have the correct information for each student. And that's why we're working on talking points this spring rather than waiting any longer to push that out for the fall to be prepared.
So the communication that's going out to parents, or parents that perhaps call your bus shop over this issue, is clearly communicated. It can be something other than home address, correct? Is that communicated effectively in what went out to parents?
We are trying to communicate. We're putting in information like Facebook now. We're doing all calls. The issue we have is when we have our Skywards talking to our new software, and the issue is that it only pulls from the primary phone number. So if we have two phone numbers, it's only going to the one parent. So we're having issues with other parents that are separated. They're not getting a phone call as well. So if we can have one primary phone call to that parent, and the other parent can contact the other party. That's why we did the Facebook. So we're trying to communicate better. We put out the Facebook. We put out the website. Here at the Transportation Department, we're doing our best to communicate any changes. Again, I feel that we've had some positive things that's happened at the Transportation Department. We're still working on improving communication to the parents. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Matt, if you don't mind, could you forward us the communication that was sent to parents? Because and I'm not saying that I am, of course, my kids are not bus drivers, so maybe why I've not seen any communication about it. But it does seem to be that maybe either we didn't have the option of an alternative transportation address to begin with when we first tried to communicate. And did we add that?
Skyward up to this point we've never been able to identify a field that the routing software or our communication software could link to without the work done this year. So one of the primary field that Kevin's talking about, if you're a bus rider, that primary field will be the transportation address, the drop-off pickup, and then we're going to have a primary address field separate and apart for that for every student, whether they're a bus rider or not. That's the information that's on file for home address, for where the utility bills are going, where we send student records, all of that stuff. But then we're also, for bus riders, going to have a transportation field that could be different from the home address as long as that is in the zoned area for that school.
I mean, because just trying to sit here and explain it kind of sounds complicated. So I just want to make sure that the communication on that is very clear.
That's why we're starting early. No changes have been made. Just to reiterate, we've not made any changes right now. What we're doing is we're setting up communication for streamlined changes for going into next year. So we're starting nice and early. But yes, I can send a copy of that. It's on the Facebook page for transportation, and it's on our website for transportation, but I'll copy that and send it to you.
One suggestion, Mr. Cobb, maybe during the course of this school year, we could set up some small community meetings if people have questions.
What we have, and we can do that. What we have found is that if we can get a video out and have the schools relay that, or get it on the website, Kevin explains it, or better yet, we have some students that do it because we've got the broadcasting, program that volunteers. They're willing to help us with those types of things, and we are looking at utilizing different media to communicate.
Just however,
Yeah.
I mean,
And we're open to that. What we wanted to have in place first is clarifying information in writing
yeah,
that we can refer to first.
but just as long as we can get everything straight by the end of the school year or before July whatever, before school starts.
And if I may, I would like
Just
to.
make sure too that the software is working for us and we're not working for the software.
Yes, I would like to invite the board to come and meet with the route specialist and myself and Mr. Hickson and sit down and just look at the software and see, because I do think it's beneficial, it's been helpful, and it's been something that was needed. So I would like to invite the board to come and we can sit down together and look at it.
And the software definitely supports what we want, and as I communicated at the start of the year, we did not have certain safety mechanisms in place that we do now with the software. We know when the target time for pickup is, when the target drop-off time is, what route they're running, and what driver they've got assigned to those routes with the roster of students that are on that bus. That's something that, short of a piece of paper, when Roy was working with us, that we struggled with. And I think Roy did an extraordinary job in tracking via spreadsheets and paper and a map that was on the board. But that process of digitizing that Roy started before he left and subsequently became a board member, and Kevin took on from that point, has allowed us to digitize our maps, to create district boundaries that are visible to parents, and when they're moving into the area, they know what boundary they're in based on the transportation map, something we've never really had before. They can pull up their address and it will tell them what school they're zoned for, what bus route they possibly would be part of. And our data clerks in our office support at each school site are gradually getting more and more feel for that. It's been a lengthy, tough process. It's the top rated software for routing, but it's one of the most difficult to learn and to implement, especially, and they'll tell us this, especially in a rural system where there's really no 90-degree roads and corners and intersections. There's no north and south straight roads to speak of other than the 11W that runs diagonally through the county. So building that and utilizing systems that are supposed to be hybrid between a metropolitan and a rural system, but we're really using it for a predominantly rural system, has been a huge learning curve. But I will say, safety-wise and our ability to track the data and to make route changes or affect routes, if we get 4 or 5 students that move into a certain area or that leave a certain area, those types of things are coming along very, very quickly, and the software is supporting our need to be able to tell anybody, particularly our parents, where their children are at any point during the transportation process.
I read an article the other day, that's a school system, I think it was running $70 million on their buses. $70 million. Now that's going to cover like 6, 7, 8 years. But, you know, it said, I just vaguely remember it, that parents have the ability to track where the bus is exactly in case it's a rainy day or a snowy day, and the kids don't have to stand out in the rain or something. No, that's $70 million. That's a lot of money. And they got all new buses and all that. Just put it down.
To that end, safety-wise, and this speaks, I know, I don't want to leave that question and that comment and take it for granted. We will follow up with the adequate communication and making sure that that's conveyed properly, and including any meeting that you think we all need to have. But I would invite you to come down here some afternoon and look at the routing software, meet with Autumn and Kevin, ask any questions. You can pull routes up that are in your area that you may be familiar with, roads that you're familiar with, even your own address, and we can show you what the software can do safety-wise. I will add that Kevin was able to not purchase any buses this year, take a break from purchasing buses. That may put us a little bit behind on our 3 or 4 per year, but we've got wiggle room in when our next round of buses expire or have to come off the road. So he was able to save that money. And what he did there was repurpose that purchase, the bus purchase, for upgrading our camera systems. Our camera systems are based on hard disks located on each bus right now. And if you need to pull information, pull recordings, you have to actually go on each bus and pull that hard disk off, find the segment of video after you've synced it or linked it to your computer at your desktop, find it, save it, and it's a very lengthy process. The new cameras coming in are digital. They require less memory. We can record far greater data with it, and it's very, very detailed in its recording, so in its nature. So we were able to repurpose the purchase monies from those buses for the cameras, and that's another safety feature we're making this year that should greatly help us out in future years.
You know, touring the bus shop with the new technology is no different than going into a school and looking at the classrooms. So if we could get that on a schedule sometime. The rest of that, any good? Okay. Okay, there's no other unfinished business, any new business? None?
It's a dead horse. I'm not a good drawer.